Every designer at some point asks themselves the question, should I do free work? If you haven't had that question yet, you're going to get it probably pretty soon. And you're often faced with this dilemma of, should I do free work in exchange for something other than money? And it's a really hard question to answer, and there's a lot of debate online, but I'm here to give you my answer to that timeless question of whether or not you should do free work. This video is going to be my 3 rules that I have used in my career to help me answer the question when faced, should I do free work? It's going to help you understand the scenarios that you can get yourself into and help you avoid some of the pitfalls that even I have gotten myself into when doing free work. So it's really going to help you decide when and where and then how to do free work. So in short, my answer is yes, you should do free work, but only when it really works for you. So let's jump into rule number 1. So rule number 1 is to always say no to free work when someone approaches you. And I say no about 99.9% of the time. If someone comes to you asking for free work, it usually means they don't have any money or any budget, and their prospects for having budget in the future are probably pretty low as well. So often someone is trying to trade on their name or their social media following, and they're offering to get your name out there so that other people can see your work in exchange for doing free work for them. This is often a bad idea because I don't personally see the value coming from all that quote unquote exposure unless this is someone with 1 million to 5 million plus followers, where your chances are much higher of being noticed. But if it's under 1 million people on social media following it, often you're not going to get the kind of click-throughs that you're hoping for or the kind of exposure that will lead to work. And if someone is not able to afford your services, it means that they're probably not doing so great themselves. Because if they were, they should be able to afford your design services or your video services. That should be something within their budget to be able to afford if they're doing well enough. So often it is a signal that they are not super successful, and it's probably not going to work out for you in the end. And that is why I've always stayed away from free work when someone comes to me, because it just means that really it's not going to turn into free work down the line. You can kind of justify it if you knew for some reason there was some sort of scenario where this person would then hire you to do ongoing projects in the future, but if they don't have anything to offer to you right now, you are going to be blocking yourself from doing other work by doing this free work for this person. This is often a bad start to a potential client relationship. If they've asked you for free work and you've said yes, what's to stop them down the line asking you for more free work in that the scenario has changed and maybe there's a bigger opportunity now and you should do more free work because the opportunity has gotten even bigger. So it's not a great start to the relationship. It means you're going to be giving lots of time to a project that you might not be super passionate about, and you're hoping for this payoff down the line, but in reality you probably don't have any control over how much exposure you actually will get down the line and how much credit you will get for the work that you do, and whether or not it's a small part or a huge part of that project. So that is rule number 1. If someone approaches you to do free work, 99.9% of the time it is a no. And that is just because the payoff for you really doesn't probably amount to the amount of work that you're going to put into it. Rule number 2 is to say yes to free work when you pick the person to work with. So what I mean by this is, if you have time in your schedule or if you are beginning your career in design, it is good for you to approach someone that you want to work with, your dream client or some sort of project or type of work that you would really love to work on, but maybe you don't have the experience or the relationships to build that person into a client right away. I would say approach them and offer free work. So I have actually used this to success in the past. There was a time when I moved all the way across the country and I was restarting my business. I was trying to make new clients from zero, and I had just come from doing a bunch of projects in the tourism space. And so it's an area that I really loved. I love shooting tourism videos, highly cinematic, more storytelling type of stuff, and it was very new at the time, and I knew that I wanted to do more of those videos. So as I looked at my local region's tourism board, they had almost no video content, and some of what they had was very, very dated. But I also knew that just simply sending out a cold email to someone or just trying to get to someone on the phone, it was going to be a really hard pitch to explain what I wanted to do, my vision, and how I thought I could help the tourism board, and then also try to work in what the budget was. It was just going to be a hard sell when you're starting from zero, when there is no relationship with that potential client. So what I did is I reached out by email and I offered my work for free. I gave them a scope of work and I said, I'm new to the area, here's what I've done, and I showed them some examples of the work I had just finished out west, and I said, I would love to do this for the region for free, this certain amount of project. And I got an email response within 24 hours, and within a week I was meeting with them and we came up with a plan, and I was able to do a fantastic video series completely for free. I didn't charge them for anything, and I delivered it to them all set up and ready to go, and they absolutely loved the work. I didn't hear anything for a couple weeks. I think it was even a couple of months, and then all of a sudden I got an email saying we'd love to meet with you and talk to you, and that turned into an ongoing yearly project with them. That one I loved. It was great work, and they had the right amount of budget, and they were super excited to work with me, and they essentially came to me with that work because of the free work that I had done. It was a risk on my part. At the very end of the day, at least I built a relationship with someone that hopefully could then share my contacts with others down the line, but I got a client that was highly profitable. I would say it was about 20% of my yearly income for a few years. It was great to work with. They were really easy, and it was just a fantastic relationship from start to end. And so that kind of work is how you get your foot in the door. This is how you get your foot in the door with a potential client or your dream client. As a person now on the other side who does the hiring, if someone cold calls you with a sales pitch, it is hard for me to wrap my mind around whether or not I want to do it or whether or not we have the budget to do it, especially if it isn't something that's top of mind, that is something that we're really working hard on right now. It is a hard sell for that person sending the cold email. However, my brain clicks into a different mode if someone says, hey, here's what I do. I would do a free project for you so you can see whether or not you like it. It's really hard as the client, the person doing the hiring, to say no to free work. That is a great opportunity then for you to build relationship with me. That is a great opportunity for you to show your stuff, show what you can do, and then show the value already to the client. This is something that I think a lot of new designers miss. They want to make money right away. They want to establish their value. They've watched a lot of videos on YouTube and they see all kinds of videos about setting your price and knowing your value and never undercutting your own value. And that is great when you are set up and established, but when you are new in the industry and you're trying to find client work and you're trying to build relationships, this is often the best and quickest way in the door. Down the line, you can get more into establishing the value and never undercutting it. Or if you're in the situation like me where you moved across the country and your client list is zero and you need to start it back up and quickly, this is a great tool to get those relationships going, to get those clients going, and just to get the ball rolling. And it can really, really work out for you long term, whether it's a client or it's a future job. Working for someone, volunteering at a church and showing them how valuable the work is can really turn into a full-time position. I've seen it happen over and over and over where people volunteer at their church and they end up getting a full-time job because they showed the value, and when the church realized that they needed more of this work and it was super important to have social media graphics or sermon graphics or video content, it turns into a full-time job at that church, and that is because you were willing to volunteer and do free work. So it's really, really important. Rule number 3 is to set your expectations and the scope of work from the very, very start. So in your initial email, I would say your expectations. I would say, I would love to work with you on projects in the future, or I would love for this to turn into a full-time job down the line, and here is the scope of work that I am willing to do. So in the tourism videos that I did, I made sure to say that I was willing to do 3 30-second commercials just showcasing the area. I knew that there was a bunch of different beautiful locations and scenes scenery and spots that weren't really being shown on any of the tourism websites. So I was gonna highlight those. I was gonna do 3 videos and they're gonna be 30 seconds. I wasn't willing to do longer versions. I wasn't willing to do more videos. Those would have to be a separate conversation, but this was what I was willing to deliver to them. And I said, I would love to do more video work for you guys. I really feel like there is value for the community to do more tourism related videos, and it is an underserved area within our community. So I set the expectations, I set the value, and I set the scope of work so that when the project finished, I think all parties were fully clear that this was the end of the free work. And therefore, if you have more ideas, we can talk about budget. And that's exactly how it happened. And that is because I was super clear about what I was willing to do and what I was offering. If you leave it open-ended, of course that potential client is going to try to get more free work. Why wouldn't they? If they can get something for free, why not ask the question? And then you feel stuck on whether or not you should do more free work, or this is the time to draw the line. How do you say that politely? So make sure you outline scope right from the start, and that will avoid some pitfalls with these potential clients down the line. And just always be clear about your expectations and that scope of work, because it's only going to help you not feel like you are now being used because you're the person that offered it to them. If someone again has come to you, like in rule number 1, and asked you for free work, you're going to start feeling frustrated if the scope starts changing. You're going to start feeling used and abused. So make sure that you set those parameters right from the start. If you ever have questions about whether or not you should be doing free work, or there's some sort of scenario that seems outside of these rules to you, you can always send me a message or comment on this video, and I'd be happy to answer you whether or not it makes sense to do that free work. At the end of the day, you just want to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of, and that you are learning and growing and also building relationships that are going to help you in your career, and they're also going to help your business grow and succeed so that it's sustainable in the long term, and your design work only grows in value the further you go in your career. Drop those comments below, subscribe to the channel, and I'd be more than willing to help you answer any questions you might have related to whether or not you should do free work. Bye.